Good morning. All of us are at different places in our lives, but we have age differences with children, no children, maybe grandchildren. We're working, not working, maybe retired. But consider this. For the last 2 months, we pretty much shared the same experience at the same time. However, in sharing this, we've been forced to do things differently, all different than what we normally would have. New schedule, less activity, less social interaction. But for all of this sameness, there's been a lot of change. Now, I'd like to try a little Zoom experience in social interaction here. I'm going to ask some questions, and if you'll switch to gallery mode, everybody can see the answers. Give me a thumbs up and put your fist right in front of the camera if you would. If you agree with what I say, give me a thumbs up. If not, give me a thumbs down. If you're neutral to the answer, give me a flat hand, or if I'm being a little too personal, then you don't have to respond at all. But I will tell you in advance that I've answered positive to all of these questions. So here we go. First question. Who's been watching more TV or more time on the computer in the last 2 months? Whose wardrobe has become more limited? Like 2 pair of jeans and 3 shirts. Who's missing people that they didn't think that they would miss seeing? Who might have gotten a little more emotional while watching the television news? Who maybe thinks it's possible, although they might not know for sure, if they've gained some weight? And finally, who might have let things get less structured in their lives and maybe not for the better? Personally, I, along with about half of our office, lost our jobs on the 1st of April. Now, I was planning on retiring later this year anyway, so I was prepared for that eventuality. I had things pretty well lined up. It was just the schedule that was off, just a little. Plus, the company was in the process of moving. So for the last 2 weeks of March, everyone was working from home. So there was no cleaning out the desk, no cardboard box full of anemic plants and pictures of your relatives, no walk of shame. Even so, this is definitely not how I had envisioned starting my retirement. My first job out of college was in Colorado Springs, about 80 miles south of Denver. At that time, if you were going to fly commercially into Colorado Springs, you flew from Denver. And all of the locals knew that you flew first thing in the morning, if at all possible, especially in the summertime, because the thunderstorms would line up along the front range of the Rocky Mountains, and every afternoon flight was a white knuckle flight. Well, somehow I drew the short straw and I ended up on a late afternoon flight from Denver to Colorado Springs. We took off, we headed right into a thunderstorm, and we circled and we bounced, and we circled and we bounced, and we circled some more until we ran low on fuel when we flew back to Denver and landed. Now, any smart person and every person on that plane would have gladly gotten off and found other alternative transportation to Colorado Springs, preferably on the ground. But we weren't given that choice, so sure enough, we loaded full of jet fuel, we taxied to the end of the runway, and we took off in the same thunderstorm that we had left 20 minutes before. This has been my life for the last 2 months. I have been in a holding pattern, circling and bouncing, and never landing anywhere. Maybe you can share that experience. I have never been out of work before. I'm used to being productive. And as a matter of fact, for all of my career, I've had a full-time job, and for most of my career, I've had a part-time job as well. To go from that, well, it's like someone has pulled the emergency cord on the subway and we've gone from full speed to full stop all at once. Well, I really don't want to overplay this because in the big scheme of things, this is really pretty small. My wife and I are healthy, we get along well, we really don't have very many problems. However, from a very personal point of view, that point of view, that very self-centered point of view that hits me at 3 o'clock in the morning when I wake up by myself in the dark, well, then things look a little bit bigger. I fight not being productive every day. However, my good retired friend John Ruck tells me that this soon will pass. I miss the face-to-face interaction. I even miss those hundreds of emails that were facing me every time I sat down at my desk. My life has become really, really small. I get up every morning and I walk out into the backyard and I pull those little plants that are growing where they shouldn't, and I nurture and coax and encourage those flowers that are growing where they should. I've gone from being a director of sales and talking to lots and lots of people to plant coach. Charles Dickens, in his novel, A Tale of Two Cities, began with the lines, "It was the best of times and it was the worst of times." This is not the best of times, but it's not the worst of times either. It's a unique time, not just unique to me, but unique to all of us. And I hope that all of us are able to embrace it. And like those flowers in my backyard, I'm trying to grow where I'm planted. And maybe when I'm talking to those little plants, I'm really talking to myself. Thank you.